episode 236.
Your long-term goals, your big goals, the goals that are going to take your breath away, if those are unrealistic, that's just peachy keen with me. They need to be goals that are going to literally take your breath away.
Welcome, aftermarketers, to Remarkable Results Radio. Listen to learn just one thing from today's episode on your journey to remarkable results. Welcome, aftermarketers throughout North America and around the world, to another in-depth interview from an aftermarket professional. Carm Capriato here, your host. You're tuned in to Remarkable Results Radio, and every time I sit behind the microphone, I feel privileged to be able to bring you another powerful interview like this. Trust me on this one, you will not lack for learning something new in this listen. I'm with Bob Cooper from Elite Worldwide, here in episode 236. This episode is brought to you by Federal Mogul Motor Parts. They bring you these in-depth interviews twice per week. Now, when you need innovation and quality, you need Federal Mogul Motor Parts. Brands like Moog, Felpro, Wagner Brake, Anco, Champion, Seal Power, FP Diesel, and more. They're the parts techs trust. Find out more at fmmotorparts.com. You know, I was wondering if you could do me a favor. There are many in the aftermarket that have not heard of Remarkable Results Radio or even know what podcasting is. Can you tell just one of your friends or industry colleagues? Show someone how to subscribe to the podcast on their smart device. Hey, here's thanking you in advance. I'd love to welcome new Facebook friends, Sean Schultz, Jake Hillard, Bruce Spencer, and Jack Crawley. And to my new LinkedIn connections, Ken Welding, Daniel Hansen II, and John Wetzel. Hey, thanks for your connections. Here's an important announcement. We've been holding the Town Hall Academy live every Friday since January 2017. A ton of new content for you. Now, these video lessons are available on my YouTube channel and on the Remarkable Results website. Hey, they now are releasing as podcasts. You'll find them on your subscription service or on my website. You will now have the Academy series in podcast form. Now, as mobile as we are, and with learning the way we do, this will really help you expand your personal think through the Academy podcast. Now, meet Bob Cooper, president of Elite Worldwide. Bob Cooper has functioned as a business developer, owner, and operator of some of the most successful auto repair shops in North America. Since then, he's become the founder and president of Elite Worldwide, an international company that specializes in supporting those in the auto service industry. Bob has been nominated for entry into Who's Who in American Business. He's a member of the prestigious National Speakers Association, and he's one of the nation's leading authorities on both personal and career success. I enjoyed our conversation as Bob walked me through his 5 secrets and principles of success. I realized that I have not read enough biographies of some of the best and brightest people who helped change the world. I hope that piqued your interest. It sure did mine. Now, get ready to hear about Michelangelo, Albert Einstein, Joan of Arc, Columbus, and more. Now, here's the interview with Bob Cooper. It's great to welcome Bob Cooper, president of Elite Worldwide. Bob, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks for giving me the opportunity of being here, Carm.
It's my pleasure. You know, Bob, you and I had a great pre-call. You talked about people who changed the world. And I just sat and I listened and I said, oh my God, the world has to hear this. Now, so many of your clients at Elite have heard you talk about this, but I'm sure we're going to find a brand new audience to hear you talk about these people that changed the world. I remember how you felt that you had to understand these great leaders of our world, worldwide leaders that did things that were extraordinary, and you wanted to learn from them. What drove you to do that?
When I was really a young guy, I was out on my own when I was 13 years old and never made it into high school, let alone out of high school. And I'll never forget the very first job that I had. I was pushing a broom in Cleveland, not too far from you, in an auto repair business. And I felt that I finally had some mentors, some people that I could learn from, all these guys and gals that were there. And it didn't take me long to discover they all had real challenges that they were dealing with. Back in that era, the only drug that was really the known drug was alcohol at that time. And these guys, almost all of them were alcoholics. They had problems at home. They were just people that I quickly realized I didn't want to have as mentors. And where do you go from there? When you're a young guy and you want to have a life ahead of you and you're looking for a path, you know, how do you get from here to there? And I decided what I was going to do is I was going to go back to school. I was going to find a way to get into school. And I wanted to have my own teachers. And I thought, I'm going to build my own academy of intellectuals. And I actually got out a piece of paper. And to this day, I wish that I still had that sheet of paper. But I actually got out a piece of paper and I started listing all of these people that were going to be the people that I refer to this day as my distant mentors. Einstein was on the list. Edison was on that list. Michelangelo was on that list. Henry Ford was on that list. Columbus was on that list. Joan of Arc was on that list. And boy, you talk about the guy that learned everything about people. I saved every dime that I could. My entire paycheck every week would go right to the bookstore.
Was it history, classes in history that made you enamored into those people?
And I think that these were people that literally, if not changed the world, they certainly had a dramatic impact on the world. And I felt that these were people that I could learn from. I just didn't know what I would be able to learn from them, if that makes sense. But I felt that they were people that I could certainly learn something from. And I went out and bought all of these books on all these guys and gals. And what I learned from them was just breathtaking. I mean, I just dug into their lives so deeply. It's almost like I was a family member with each and every one of them. That's how close I felt to each and every one of those. And what I discovered is, as I mentioned when we last spoke, there were actually five commonalities, 5 things that they all had in common. And I decided to apply those to my life and see what would happen. I felt, if it worked for them, it could work for me. And not that I have any expectation that I'm going to be anywhere in their league, but I thought if I could move the needle at any distance at all with what I've learned, then that would be a good thing. And I applied those principles to my life, I would like to say, as well as my business. And boy, did my life and did my business change. I mean, almost like flipping a switch. It was really that amazing for me. And I used that to grow a really great company in Cleveland, Ohio, moved to California later. Got back in the auto repair business, used those same principles to grow a really great company there, use those same principles to grow Elite, and I want to say to have a really great life. A marriage that's lasted for decades upon decades, a wonderful daughter. I mean, I just have a really, really amazing life, and most of it, most of it, I certainly attribute to what I discovered from those extraordinary people.
I've heard people tell me before, read biographical novels, read about people and learn about them. And I have to tell you, Bob, I haven't done a whole lot of that, just a few in my life. And you're inspiring me.
The more you dig, the more you'll find. I mean, you could take any one of these individuals, and the more you dig, the more you'll find about who they are. I mean, it's just almost like, wow, when I get to know these people as though I would know family members, that was like these wow moments that I had with each and every one of them.
So it wasn't inspirational. It was just wow.
Oh, it was inspirational. But I think the point that I'm trying to make is that to this day, if Henry Ford were to come back from the beyond, and if I would spend time with him, I would feel as though he's a dear friend because I know so much about him. And Joan of Arc and all these other names that I've mentioned to you.
Who was your favorite?
There is no one. But what I do is I do carry 3 of them in my heart. And I use those 3 for really difficult days. Whenever I have a really, 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 really super bad day, as we all do, I turn to one of those 3 people that I carry in my heart. And I turn to them because we always need somebody. I feel we always need somebody to lean on. No one could do it on their own. Nobody can.
You remember the message from the book then? Is that what and you go over it in your head?
I think of them as a person, and I sort of want to give them a hug. When I'm having a really dark day, and I turn to them and I think of them, and then I get inspired is probably a better choice of words, and I go, wow, this is a person that was able to get from here to there in a huge way. And if they were all able to overcome all those obstacles, why can't I overcome this one obstacle that I'm dealing with in life, whatever it is?
Do you credit this discipline of yours to help you in your business today, to help inspire your clients or the people around you?
Of course, we all have to do that. That's our responsibility in life. When I talk about leadership, everybody's a leader. I've never met a person that wasn't a leader. The question is to what degree and what are you leading and why. But we all have these leadership responsibilities, and I believe that this is a giving back to society that we all owe to society. I believe that this is sort of like an unwritten responsibility that we have to help others along the way. So if I could live my life in a certain way, if I could discipline myself to set really breathtaking goals, if I could inspire myself to really understand the importance of every life that I touch and people, then I'm hoping that there's somebody out there that's going to see how I behave to that part and say, you know what, if Cooper could do that, certainly I could do that if Cooper could do that.
Bob, were you always a good listener, or did this discipline inspire you to be a really good listener?
I think people have to work at listening. Everybody does. Or the way our mind processes, as you know, our mind processes so fast. And certainly when you look at the rate of speech compared to how we listen, there's this dramatic variance. So that's something we have to always work at, listening and understanding, more importantly.
Which one of them had the biggest impact on you when it comes to ethics?
If we're going to define ethics as doing the right things for the right reasons, really believing in your cause, really putting people first, really caring about society at large, then it would certainly be Joan of Arc. And the more you learn about her and her family and her older brother, and the more you learn about her mom and dad and how she was raised and what she did with her life, the more you'll understand how she's really a great role model if you're looking for somebody that can inspire you with ethics.
Would you recommend that that's the first one I read?
No, I think that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I think you need to find out. I think all your listeners need to find out where they want to go in life, and then find the right person to guide them. If you're looking to set goals that could really be breathtaking goals, then do what you need to do to learn about Columbus. As much as people despise him for a lot of things that he arguably did to the Western world, there's a lot to be learned about his life and what he did and how he had to get from here to there. People think that he simply got 3 votes and he came to the Americas, and that's the furthest from the truth. So if somebody is looking for something like that, I would say then really take a look at him. If somebody's looking to team build and really understand how you could build an extraordinary company of extraordinary people, they really need to turn to Henry Ford. I can't think of one person that I had as a distant or have as a distant role model that has had a greater impact on me when it comes to team building than Henry Ford. If you're looking for somebody that could help you become a better people person, set great goals, become a better people person, and not compromise your ethics as well, then I would say Alexander the Great would be one to really learn everything that you can about him and his life and what he did in a short time that he was on this planet. There's so many lessons that I learned from him alone, little tidbits, little things that he taught me long before Dale Carnegie. There's things that he taught me about dealing with people.
I'm talking to Bud Houston, a technical product specialist with Federal Mogul Motor Parts. Hey, Bud, what's the best thing about the Guru on the Go van?
Yeah, I think that the best thing about the van and the mission is it's twofold. One is ultimately to bring brand awareness of the Federal Mogul portfolio, but I think the way that we do that is we bring value to the technician, the shop owner. And how we do that is we bring technical content, we bring some updated material, and once they see that I care about their operation, their reputation, and their qualifications, one, they're built up, but two, they really, at that point, listen to what I have to say about the brands, and the relationship is built on a mutual benefit. So
you bring technical stuff, and you bring product specific.
Yeah, me personally, I'm super technical background. So anytime I'm doing a lunch and learn or a van visit, training session, it's typically 90% technical, 10% product.
Any new Moog products that are getting good reviews?
Yeah, one that's recently released is the Dodge Ram 25 and 3500 complete steering assembly. It's inner and outer tie rod ends and drag link pre-assembled. This is the first aftermarket part that's available in a complete assembly for this application. And the specific applications, late model Dodge Rams, are actually a kind of a high failure part on the chassis parts.
What about the compression loaded ball joints with pre-installed integral dust boot?
Yeah, the integral dust boot has been a huge hit. Initially, the idea was well, where is the boot? And then once you kind of get around and show people, they're like, well, that is the best idea I've ever seen, because I've torn so many boots on installation, or I've had a boot that's not seated properly. And they're like, well, that's just not an issue now. And they love it.
Federal Mogul Motor Parts' Garage Gurus is your go-to source for the vehicle training, technology, and answers you need to keep your next job on track. On site, online, or on demand, the Gurus are here to help keep your business and your career on the road to success. Visit fmgarageguru.com. I know you must get in front of your people, your team, your customers, the industry, and relate these stories. Who's come up to you, Bob, and said, thank you so much for the last time I heard you speak. And I dug into some of these books, and it really did change me. How often does that happen?
Actually, that doesn't happen very often, and I'm not surprised because I understand people and all the barriers that they have to changing their own lives. But what I can tell you is not that people have came up and said, I read this or I discovered this about this person. Now they are playing an impact on my life. But what I can tell you is I've had hundreds of people that have told me over the years how the stories that I would share with them have changed their lives, the impact. So again, it's not me. I don't want to be misunderstood, Carm. I'm the messenger. It's the message, the person that I was telling the story about, whether it be Columbus or Joan of Arc or Michelangelo, whoever it is, how that message stuck with them and caused them to bring about change in their lives. So these are people need to create I would encourage all of your listeners to create their own list. Find the people that they feel could inspire them and that they could learn from, whoever that is. And in a contemporary way, it could be Bezos, it could be the late, great Stephen Jobs. But find these people that they say, I want to learn how he or she lived their lives.
Could we jump into these 5 principles?
Yeah, sure, of course. Be more than happy to. Number one is number one. The reason that it's number one is because it's something that we all need in life, and we all need to set goals. And the tragedy is very few people, as you probably know, have clearly defined goals. There's a lot of reasons that they don't, but very few people do have clearly defined goals. And there's another tragedy, and that tragedy is that most people, when they're young guys or gals, they're taught by, whether it be their custodians or their parents or their educators or whatever, they're taught that when they set goals that they have to be realistic. And you know what? I don't agree. I do not agree. Your long-term goals, your big goals, the goals that are going to take your breath away, if those are unrealistic, that's just peachy keen with me. They need to be goals that are going to literally take your breath away.
So inspirational type goals.
Yeah, inspirational goals. Carm, you got your life, I have my life. And the one thing that I could promise you, and I alluded to this earlier, there will come days in your life, and I'm speaking to you now, not even your audience, there are going to come days in your life when you're going to question a lot of different things. You're going to question your goals. You're going to question your plan. You're going to question your competency. You're going to have all those questions that are raised in your mind. And if you have what I'm going to call realistic goals, the average goals that people seem to set, you're going to give up. You're going to give up because that ring that's out there, that brass ring, just isn't worth the price. On the other hand, when you have a goal to prove the earth to be round and find a shorter route to India, when you have a goal to free France, when you have a goal to discover a vaccine that's going to cure cancer or prevent cancer, when you have these kind of goals, that's going to get you up in the middle of the night for a good reason.
That will push you to get over the short-term stuff that may be pulling you down.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I found in common in all the people that are my distant mentors. They're all dreamers that become achievers because they dream big. And if you look at the late great Stephen Jobs, he's a fellow that said it's the people that are crazy enough to believe that they could change the world that actually do. So, what's going on here? What is going on here? And we're little guys and gals. We're taught otherwise. We're taught, hey, Larry, hey, Mary, when you set goals, now listen to me, they got to be realistic goals. This is what you get out of here. Realism comes into place, where it does come into place is for your midterm and short-term goals. So the long-term goal is to put a man on the moon. The long-term goal is to find a cure for cancer. The long-term goal, whatever it is. And then you take that dream that you have, that vision that you have, and then you chop it up and you say, okay, how do I take little steps to get from here to there? Business owners need to do the same. Shop owners need to do the same.
Regarding shop owners, they really need to be thinking 20 years down the road as to what it's going to look like. What is my business going to look like? What's my model going to be? Am I in touch with technology? Am I implementing the things that I've been learning? Am I fixing the things that aren't working 20 years out? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. I can't understand why a shop owner would not have 20-year goals. I cannot understand why they would not have 20-year goals. And a lot of shop owners, especially the ones that are the aging ones, and I find it very interesting when they'll say, well, you know what, I'm going to be out of the business in 5 years. I'm going to retire. And so I'm just going to plan this. And it's all about, and I'm going to say this in a respectful way to all of your listeners, all right? It's not about me. It's about we. It's not about me. It's we. It's not about me at the elite. This company is bigger than me. By that, I mean, for a shop owner, he needs to have the mindset that his organization is bigger than him. He's a part of, but it is not him. It's its own living entity. So the fact that he's going to retire in 2 to 5 to 10 years or whatever it is, what does that 22-year-old technician think? what does that 30-year-old service advisor think? They don't want to hear about retiring in 2 or 5 or 10 years. They're thinking long term. What's going to happen with them over the ensuing years? So this is where a shop owner, by setting these long-term goals, he has that vision. He shares that with his employees. Now they have something to get excited about.
Yeah, they get a piece of the vision. And I'll tell you, when you work for someone and you have an idea where he wants to go, you'll help him get there.
Amen. Amen. Well, this gets back to nobody could do it on their own. Nobody can. Michelangelo had help painting the Sistine Chapel, and nobody could do it on their own. And shop owners need to understand that. They need to get their heads around it. They need to look at all of their employees, and they need to think of them. This gets back to the argument about the people that work with you. Argument's not the right word, but this gets back to the mindset of the people that work with you, not for you. If you ask people that work with me, how many people work for me, the answer is 0, not 1. Nobody works for me. They work with me. There's no hierarchy in this company. We are an organization, and I play a small part over here. So this is what shop owners need to do. They need to take a step back, take a deep breath. They need to be proud of what they built, and they need to understand that they're just a component of that organization. So this is why they have to have these long-term goals. And then when they're sitting down and talking to their employees about the long-term goals of the company, how they're going to have extra base, how they're going to build, how they're going to have a second location, whatever, this is going to inspire all the people that work with them to want to continue to work with them.
So good just doesn't make it anymore.
It never has. Because it's never made it in any way of life. Good didn't make it in 1935. Everything around you, everything that you do in your life and in your business, it needs to really be extraordinary. And this is why the first rule, the principle in life, the secret, I call it my secrets of success. The first one that I have and live by is setting great goals. If your plan is to retire when I'm pulling something out of the air, to retire when you're 65 years old, you know what? That's great. Okay, fine. I get it. You know what? But why don't you plan on having a second retirement home on the south of France?
If you don't set the vision, the 65 may never happen, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and it needs to be something that's going to get you really excited. So not that you're going to retire when you're 65 and you're going to go to Denny's every week, with all due respect to Denny's, but you're going to retire and you're going to have a home in Maui. Now, if you miss the mark for whatever reason, okay, so the home isn't in Maui, the home is in Honolulu.
Yeah, the stepping stone can't be short. You have to leap.
Columbus proved that, didn't he? Well, he never found that shorter route, right? So he proved that. Look what he was able to accomplish. Look at all the great sciences that have that brought us all these wonderful things. Look at Einstein. Look at Edison. When people and Einstein, I get all frustrated, and I probably should not tell you this, but I get really frustrated and I've had the chance to speak at a lot of universities. I get really frustrated when people start telling me about Einstein and mass, matter, and energy, and for whatever reason they think that that's a gift that he gave to society, and I disagree with that. I absolutely disagree with that. I think the absolute number one greatest gift that Einstein gave us, and I could literally quote him because this is another guy that I really love. He said, given the difference between intelligence, he's talking about, how smart you are. Given the difference between intelligence, you with me on this? How smart people are, and the ability to create, I would always opt for creativity. So the fact of the matter is, he understands that sheer intelligence is trumped by creativity. Sheer intelligence is trumped by what your mind will allow you to go, wow, I could do this. So you have a really intelligent guy over here that has a business, and you have another guy over here that doesn't have the IQ, the same IQ. He's not as intelligent. But you know what he has? He's got a passion, and he's creative. He could see that. He could look into the future. He could put a man on Mars. That's Einstein. And I think people don't, that one slid through the cracks.
The paradigm of Einstein is intelligence, but yet, truly, he believes that creativity is the pinnacle.
Now that we're talking about Einstein, it's starting to come into my head, and if I close my eyes, I could probably think of it. But it's given the difference in creativity and intelligence. This is what he said verbatim. Given the difference in creativity and intelligence, I would always opt for creativity, because anything mankind can imagine, mankind can create, end quote.
So, my listener, let that sink in. Really let that sink in, and start taking incredible ideas that you have and do something about them. Wow.
Yeah, think big, dream big, and set really great goals. Set at least one great goal, personal goal and career goal or business goal. Set one personal goal that's going to take your breath away, and set one business or career goal that's going to take your breath away, and live by them.
If there weren't 5 principles to talk about, I would be satisfied with this first one.
That's a big one, isn't it?
Yes, it is. What's number 2?
Set great goals is number 1. Number 2, surround yourself with extraordinary people. And this means that you need to have guys and gals that really are extraordinary. Whether they be technicians, advisors, managers, it doesn't matter what they are. This gets back to what we were talking about earlier. Good doesn't make it anymore. You have to have really great people working with you. You have to have really extraordinary people working with you. They have to have the right attitude. They got to have the right aptitude, and they have to have the ethics. In our organization, you give me people that have those all 3, we'll do the rest. If they have the aptitude to grow into the job, if they have the right attitude, if their head is framed correctly, where they just have the ability to get it, if they have the right attitude, if they have that aptitude to learn, and if they have the ethics, and you got extraordinary people. And the best person that could ever teach any of us that would be Columbus, or not Columbus, that would be Ford. Arguably, Ford did not have an above average IQ. He never took an IQ test, but there's a lot of argument, a lot of proof, I guess I would say, a lot of fact that sort of supports the fact that he did not have above average IQ. But he knew the importance of hiring really extraordinary people. Most business owners are afraid to do that.
Does the service professional have the patience to grow this extraordinary team?
Technicians live in the day. This is their job. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. Technicians live in that day. And the way they judge success is by the end of the day. How many billable hours, how many cars they fixed on that given day. That's their world. Managers, and beyond just shop managers, any managers in any position, they live in the period. They live in the past, they analyze data, they live in the day, but they live in a general sense in a period of these weeks is what we call them. And leaders of companies have to live in the future. And there's a remarkable difference. And the remarkable difference is the technician is rewarded at the end of the day. The manager is functionally rewarded at the end of the week or the end of the month. The leader doesn't receive any of those rewards. The leader is working on something that's grand, finding the world to be round. The leader's on this journey, and there are no, gee, we're there, and no instant gratification, as well as I could say. So leaders have to realize that. The other challenge that business owners have, and this is one that I wish most of them would be able to get over, is a better way of saying it. When they come into business, they're dreamers. Let's say Larry at Larry's Auto Repair. He listened to all of his friends. He was a technician that worked at the dealer or another shop. He was told that he does a great job and he should start his own business. And you know what? He does. You know what happens to Larry? He starts his own business. He gets all jazzed. He goes out, he rents this building. It's got 3 bays in it. He hires a couple guys. And what Larry doesn't realize is within a couple of years, he's going to transform into a manager. He's no longer a builder. Builder meaning he's no longer building a business. Now he's a manager. He's managing people and he's managing processes. And you know what he doesn't like to do? He doesn't like to manage people and he doesn't like to manage processes. And you know what that leads to? Inevitably, burnout. And that's why whenever I talk to shop owners that are arguably burned out, I just burned out. First thing I'll ask them is, tell me about your long-term goals. So if they don't have those long-term goals, if they can't see the end result, if Michelangelo was not able to see David inside of that marble, then he would have gave up a long time ago. So the struggle that I see with shop owners is really twofold. Number one, they got to understand that there's going to be a delayed gratification in building a great company. It just ain't going to happen immediately. It just isn't going to happen. And number two, they really have to set these great goals because that's what's going to get them inspired as they need to be.
You teach them that it's a little lonely up top?
Well, it is if you're not careful. And the way you prevent that from happening is you make sure that everyone understands that there's no hierarchy. Then if you do that, there really is no top. In our business, one of the things that I've done ever since I was in the auto repair business, and we teach all of our clients to do this as well. When you're doing a review, if you're an employee and if you work with me and I'm performing your review, half of that review time is going to be my reviewing you. 25% of the review time is going to be you reviewing our organization. And the last 25% of the time is going to be you reviewing me, giving me feedback, telling me what I can improve. Now, if you take this approach, then you can see there's no hierarchy. So it's not lonely at the top because you're surrounded by people that really do care about the mission.
Great point. Thank you for that. Number 3.
Alexander the Great taught me this one more than anybody else. You can never, ever, ever forget the importance of people. So bringing the great people on board, just looking internally at a company, bringing remarkable people on board, from my point of view, that's not the hard part. The hard part is keeping those people and keeping their hearts, not keeping their intellects, keeping their hearts. That's hard. When shop owners come to us and they say, well, I need your help. My best tech just gave me a 2-week notice. I can't believe this happened. It just came out of nowhere. And I'll certainly, if I were talking to them, I'll say, the toolbox is always the last thing to leave. What left before that, before the toolbox left, was the intellect. And what left before that was the heart. You see, when you hire a technician, you have all of him. You have his or her heart as well. They love doing, and all these other opportunities around them, and they won't even see them. But when you lose their heart, then all of a sudden they see these opportunities around them. And when they start looking at the opportunities, then the toolbox goes. So when it comes to managing people, it's no different than marriage. Getting married is easy from my point of view. Staying married is a tough part. So with your employees, you have to develop your skill set to become a really great manager of your single greatest asset. And that's the people that work with you.
Is heart tough for a lot of shop owners to really understand the concept that it has, in my mind, everything to do with love and caring? And I've always said that love in an organization is an action verb. We have to care for each other. Do they have a tough time with that?
Yeah, I'm sure that they do. And the reason that they do is they're afraid. They're afraid if they get too close to an employee, the employee will take advantage of them. They're afraid. Well, one of the things I'll never do, Cooper, is I won't socialize with my employees. I mean, we have our company dinner. I don't want to be misunderstood, but, I don't want to cross that line because, this is business. And, this is not the right way to do it. They need to not only cross that line, but they need to live on the other side. There needs to be no line functionally. Again, there's no hierarchy. So why can't you care about the people that work with you? They spend more time with their employees than they do with their family members. Why can't they give them a hug? Why can't they talk to them about the dark days that they're having, the tough times that they're having?
Well, Bob, I'm Italian and I'm a hugger. And sometimes if I meet someone for the first time, I actually have to look them over real quick to find out if they're going to be okay if I give them a hug. I so firmly believe in this, never forget the importance of people. Thank you for that. Principle 3. Now, number 4 is?
And one other thing on 3 that I think is worth a mention is this needs to expand. This needs to expand beyond the people that work with you. When I say never forget the importance of people, story tell that's really a cute story is I go to the dry cleaners and I'll walk. I'm just giving you an example. I walk into the dry cleaners and the guys and gals are here in Southern California. A lot of Hispanics they can't speak English. They work in the dry cleaners, and I'll wave to them in the back, and they probably wonder who is this crazy guy, this moron up there waving, and they won't even make eye contact. They'll look away. And after I do that 2 or 3 times, then they start waving back. And then I'm not trying to take advantage of the situation. I'm just using this as an illustration. Then I go in there on a given day and I have a pair of slacks or suit that needs to be pressed. And I'll ask the gal up front, how long will it take to get this done? When can I get it back? And she'll look at the gals in the back and say, hey, let's stop what we're doing. Could you do Cooper's suit for him? And again, I'm not trying to take it. Just, kindness begets kindness. And I'm not trying to make this selfish. But people need to understand that when you set the great goals, you can't get there on your own. You got to have amazing people working with you, bringing this back to business. And you can never forget the importance of people. And this goes to every life that you touch, every single life that you touch. You have to give them a hug to your term.
Before you get into number 4, I have to bookend on what you just said. I remember going to Disney Institute, and they worked so hard to come up with a customer service premise. And at the end of 3 or 4 days of trying to figure it out, it was this simple: look them in the eye and smile. And you just described that at the dry cleaners. And when it comes back to you, and then all of a sudden, bam,
yeah,
you get it.
Yeah.
And then it becomes constitution.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah, well said. We have the shop owners that will come to a lot of our seminars, and one of the things they'll say is, if I could get one good idea out of this, then this is why I go to seminars. If I could just get one good idea, it pays for itself. And I politely, inside, I disagree with them. They don't need another idea. They don't need another idea. They need to grab onto some principles that really represent who they are. they need to hold those principles really tight and then to your term, and then they need to run with them, and the world will be theirs. They don't need more information. They need more discipline.
Do you find yourself, your company, being a bigger, better accountability partner for people to run with those things, to implement, I guess is the word I'm looking for, but if someone doesn't have a defined goal with an assignment of who and a date and a time, sometimes it never gets done. Do you do a lot of that?
One of the things that shop owners will do, or one of the things I should say that we'll do with shop owners is, it is not uncommon. They'll come to us and they'll ask us if we have job descriptions for technicians. And I'll if I'm involved in a conversation, I'll say, well, we do, but why are you looking for that? And they'll say, well, I want my tech to know exactly what they're supposed to do. And they'll say, do you have those? And I say, well, we do. And I'll say, well, what about advisors? Would you like one for an advisor? Oh, do you have one of those for advisors? Yeah, I'd love to have one of those. And then I'll get to a point and I'll say, well, Mr. Shop Owner, I got a question for you. What about you? What's your job description look like? And there's always a deer in the headlight, the long pause. And then inevitably, this is the answer. It's almost like everyone went to the same school. This is the answer that we hear. My job, Cooper? Well, I'm a good tech. So I'll help the guys out in the back if they get really busy. I'm a really great diagnostician. I'll help there too. I believe in customer service. So one of the things that I'll do is, I'll really help out on the counter when we get behind. I'll certainly do that. And Cooper, I'll actually clean the restrooms because I want my guys to know that I'll never expect them to do anything that I wouldn't do. And then I'll remind them, not one of those, not one belong on their job description. The job description of a business owner is very short and it's very profound. Number one, and this is going to sound somewhat familiar to you. Number one, set the goals of the company. If you don't have them, set them. Number two, create a plan. How are you going to get from here to there? It's your job as a business owner. How are you going to get from here to there? Number three, after you do that, you got to hire extraordinary people. This is your job as a job description. Which one of those, Mr. Shop Owner, do you think is not important? Which one of those do you want to sweep off to the list? You tell me and we'll take it off of the list. Number four, the fourth thing you need to do is you need to bring out the best in the people that work with you. It's your job, whether you like it or not. You're the leader. You're the owner of the company. You have to bring out the best in the people who work with you. And the last one on the list is you have to ensure the success of the company. This means when you have employee meetings, you don't say, we're going to try to do this or try to do that. This means you're going to say, we are going to do this and we are going to do that. So this is a job description that every shop owner needs to really grab onto. And isn't it interesting that number one is set their goals? So to your point, when we have clients that come to us, there's no accountability in many cases. They're struggling. They're working really hard. But what are they doing? They're working on cars. They're working on a service counter. They're doing everything but what they should be doing, which is working on themselves, understanding their roles, understanding their responsibilities, and setting the time aside to work on the things that are truly important to the company. And we help them with that. That's one of the things that we do. We help shop owners learn how to be business owners.
How proud are you to see some of those transformations?
Well, it's really heartwarming. What makes me most proud is the people that I'm able to work with, the coaches that are on our team, the employees that are on our team. That's what makes me most proud, because these are people that clearly don't have to do what they do. They certainly don't need the income. They work with us because they absolutely love building legacies, giving back to the industry, helping other shop owners get from here to there. So that's what I'm most proud of. And of course, we have many clients that have just done remarkable things with their lives and businesses, which is certainly heartwarming as well, to answer your question.
How many clients, Bob, come into the program and then they stick around for a long time because they realize that they got into this remarkable place and they want to stay there?
Oh yeah, we have clients that have been with us since we started the company. I actually have clients from I got to remember when I started this company now. Interesting, 1990. We still have clients from 1990 that are still with us. And this is not a testimony to us. This is a testimony to them as people. They understand, they get it that they can't do it on their own. They get it in the same way that I can't, in the same way that you can't. They get it that they can't do it on their own. And they need to hire remarkable people. So by working with a company like ours, they have all of these great minds that they're able to work with. So this is, again, part of their job description. Put together the plan, set the goals, put together the plan, hire extraordinary people.
Number one, setting great goals. Number 2, surround yourself with extraordinary people. Number 3, never forget the importance of people. And number 4?
Well, number 4 is you can never compromise your ethics. You can't. And people think that that's easy. That's not easy. I'm not talking about the compromising component. I'm talking about understanding what ethics is. When people come to work in our company, one of the things, and I don't know if any of the people that work with me have told you this, but one of the things that happens with them is we immediately give them our mission statement. And they have to memorize that. We give them a copy of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. We go chapter by chapter with that. When they first start working with us, one of the things that we do is we're going through these chapters is they have to tell us what they gained out of each section in the book and how they're going to apply it to their personal life. We do this during the first probationary period of time. And then after they tell us how they apply it to their personal life, then they're going to tell us how they're going to apply it to their career and working with us. Now, the reason I mention that to you is one of the other things that we do is I give the people that work with me, we buy books online and then we provide them to the employees. And then what we do is everyone reads a section of the book and then everyone needs to report to all of us in team meetings what they learned from the book. And one of the best books, one of the books that we recommend now to all of our clients that we use internally is John Maxwell's Ethics 101. And any of your listeners that haven't read Maxwell's Ethics 101, I would encourage you to read it because the people that work with me, it's amazing how people found different things in the book. I thought that was so cool about ethics. Tell me what you learned. What was your greatest takeaway? Chapter 1 of John Maxwell's Ethics 101. What was your greatest takeaway, Jen? Doris, what was your greatest takeaway? Hey, Mike, what was your greatest takeaway? Hey, Michelle, what was your greatest takeaway? It's amazing how all these people have different takeaways when it comes to ethics. Now we're talking about it. Now we're all talking about those takeaways. And now all of a sudden we all start believing those and living those takeaways.
Learning how big the world is, learning how everyone has their own perspective and opinion on things. It's all ethics. It's just almost served up in a little different way.
The problem is that we have situational ethics in the world. You know, what has the right optics? What looks good? And people, business owners, from my point of view, they need to get beyond that. You know, it's what you do in private that matters most. You know, it's not what you do in public when when all the optics are there. It's what you do in private. You're walking down a grocery store hall. You're in Home Depot. You find, here's two $20 bills on the floor. What are you going to do? Nobody's around. What are you going to do? So easily you could pick it up, put it in your pocket, or you could walk up to the cashier and say, hey, look, I don't know who this belongs to, but I know who it doesn't belong to. It doesn't belong to me. If anybody comes in and they're asking for it, here, I'll pass them on to you, my friend. Can I do that? So this is the kind of ethics that I'm talking about. And one of the things that we have here at Elite is we call it the grandmother test. And this is one I would encourage all business owners that are listening to this to consider doing in their business because it will make your mind really work. Whenever you're having a situation and you don't know what the right thing is to do, don't abide by this archaic, silly rule that says, I'm going to treat other people the way I would like to be treated. That's a meaningless rule. That's a selfish rule. That's imposing your beliefs on other people. You got skin in the game. You're a business owner. Come on, treat other people the way that I'd like to be treated. You're a business owner. You know, how does that fit into the mindset of a customer, as an example? So what we do here at Elite is we call it the grandmother test. And whenever we have, I'm going to be very blunt with you, whenever we have ethical questions, ethical dilemmas, what's the right thing to do at this point? We will always, when we're all done with our conversation, we'll say, okay, everybody's given their input. What would our grandmother say is the right thing to do? And we call it the grandmother test for that reason. And it's amazing. Every now and then, fortunately, it doesn't happen too often, that grandmother in that conversation would say to do something uniquely different than what we all thought would be the right thing to do. What we're doing by invoking grandmother is we're taking all of our selfish interests out of the equation. Is that cool or what? That demonstrates the ethics that we all need to live by, at least here at Elite.
That's a learning moment.
Everybody needs to read that book, Maxwell's 101. They need to give it to their employee. And people will say, well, what if my employees don't read the book? You know what? That's okay. He's not here. She's not going to be with you anyways. And over a period of time, they'll be gone anyways.
I've interviewed a bunch of your clients, and they occasionally talk about their book club and how I believe you've inspired them to make that part of their culture in their company, to have a book a month. John Maxwell changed me, 1998. when I found myself in a very different and important role, and I had to be a leader of many more people than I currently was, and I picked up developing the leader within you, where in the first paragraph it says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And so I'm a very, very big fan of John Maxwell, and I concur with you. Okay, number 5, principle number 5.
Yeah, and this one simply says never compromise your word. Everybody's listening to this and they're rolling their eyes probably right now. Go, of course, Cooper. Of course that's the case. But you know what? They need to be very careful. This is sort of like Stephen Covey kind of stuff. The bottom line is that you have to be very careful when you make any promise at all to people, because you functionally have to deliver. If you don't, then you're a shell of a person. If you don't, what are your promises worth? And when you're looking at doing something extraordinary with your organization, you have to have people that trust you to the end of the earth. They're putting their careers in your hands. They're putting their livelihood in your hands. There can't be any crack, any component of doubt in your integrity, ethics, and your word. This is huge. And when I look at people that have changed the world, these are the 5 things that I found to be most common. These were the common denominators of people that changed the world.
What a lesson.
Was for me. These aren't mine. These do not belong to me. These belong to the earth. These have been around since the beginning of time. But the problem is that they're forgotten. People just need to get back to the basics of having a great life and having a really, really great company, growing a really great company. It's not rocket science. It really isn't.
I'm really moved by these 5 principles, even though this is my second time hearing them. And I am so happy you came on the podcast to share. Is there anything that you would want to ask of or a request of my audience right now? Anything you'd like to say?
Well, there's probably a couple things, and one would probably be, I know a lot of guys and gals in the industry today are really concerned about driverless cars. They're concerned about the shortage of technicians. Actually, the shortage is a blessing for them. They need to embrace it as a blessing. Shortage creates opportunity. Scarcity creates opportunity. Diamonds are diamonds for a specific reason. So they need to embrace change. And when you look at all the great companies, when you look at Apple, and how it's nowhere near the Apple that it was when it first started their business model. Look at Amazon, how they're no longer the Amazon that everybody knew. Look at this company that we call Alphabet today. Everybody knows it as Google. Look how it's changed from just being a search engine. So the uniqueness is, this industry, like all industries, is going to change. So they're so concerned about automobiles and technology, from my point of view, they forgot about the single most important part of their business, their customer. If you have a customer that trusts you, you're going to be in a really great place. Because it doesn't matter what you're selling or what you're doing 5 or 10 or 20 years from now. You're going to have people that believe in you and come to you for you to help them solve their problems. So what I would recommend to your listeners do after they listen to this podcast, if I had one hope that they would do, I would hope that when they go to bed at night, that they would dream, and they would dream really big. That's what I would hope that they do. And then I hope when they get up that they not only believe in their goals, but I hope that they believe in themselves. I hope that they believe in their people. And I hope that they believe in their mission as to what they're doing. The goals are over here. This is what you're going to accomplish. The mission is what you're going to do along the way. So if they believe in these things, then they're going to have a really cool life. I hope that makes sense. Hope you find it beneficial, Karen.
I did. Thank you. Bob Cooper, President, Elite Worldwide. Thank you so much for being on the show.
All my pleasure. All my pleasure. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day as well, Karen. Thanks.
Hey, Aftermarketers, thanks for joining in on the conversation with Bob Cooper, President of Elite Worldwide. For an in-depth episode experience, don't miss the show notes for this episode with Bob Cooper at remarkableresults.biz/E236. Hey, could you tell? I was extremely absorbed into the lessons. Thanks to Bob Cooper for sharing. Now, if you didn't have a chance to write down Bob's principles of success, they're on the show notes page. Hey, don't forget about one of the easiest ways to listen to the podcast is on your smart device. Go to your app store and type in Remarkable Results Radio and click install. It's free. It's your own podcast app for automotive aftermarket wisdom. Every episode release is at your fingertips, and there's a new update out there, so please give it an update. Hey, I've been getting a lot of mail, and I love it when you write. Drop me a line at carm@remarkableresults.biz or head on over to the contact page on the website. You know, you're an important reason I bring you these interviews so you can profit from the answers and ideas found in each episode. Hey, thanks for your support.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time.